We're from
the Church of St. Anne's
in Lawrenceville, New Jersey.
Connecting faith and life.
And you're watching Real Faith TV.
Fights with my parents escalate pretty quickly because we both scream at each other a lot. I get very upset really quickly when I don't get what I want.
The main thing I fight with my parents about is definitely my room and cleaning.
The main things I fight with my parents about is probably my room. They always say keep it clean, but like I feel like it's clean for myself, but like they always yell at me to clean it every day.
I think what annoys me the most is probably what they have to say about my room, because sometimes it's messy, but it's kind of messy, so I know where everything is, and they'd come in and clean it, and then I can't find anything, so it kind of throws me off balance.
Honoring your parents is a very important part of all religions and just life in general for everybody, because without respect, and especially respect to your superiors, you're not going to gain respect.
One of the biggest rules my parents have is to always tell the truth, because lying will never get you anywhere. And I always follow this rule because if I lie to them, I can get in more trouble than if I just tell the truth.
I am an obedient child like 90% of the time. Most of the time, like I'm like trustworthy and like I tell my parents the truth, but like other times if I have to get away with something, like I usually sneak it by them and let it like pass over.
Sometimes I can put myself in my parents' shoes because I understand why they're saying no. Even though I may get mad, I understand why they're saying no because they're just looking out for me.
I see my parents responding with my older sister completely differently than how they respond with me in different situations, and it kind of drives me crazy because we're completely different people.
Some strategies I normally use is bringing my friends around beforehand so my parents feel secure where I'm at. Some strategies that don't work are not bringing it up to them as soon as you know what the plans are. Like if you push it off a while and then 15 minutes beforehand, can I go here? They normally aren't happy about that.
To convince my parents to let me to go to a party, I let them know about which of my friends are going to be there because they're friends with their parents.
Compromising is mostly what I do to try to get them to see my side and also keep their side in mind with it.
You never let me do anything.
Everyone else is going.
Oh, how about this one? Today is the last day or won't be able to get it.
Sound familiar? Our teenage years are full of high emotions, which often lead to tension with our parents.
Think about the transition that happens in just a few short years.
One moment we need lunch made for us and help with homework, and the next moment we have a driver's license and are asking to borrow the car.
From our perspective, we need space to try new things and explore the world on our own.
From our parents' perspective, they want to see us grow into an adult, but also make sure that we are safe.
Cue the tension, the fighting, and the drama.
It is difficult for our families to navigate this new territory while keeping calm, cool, and collected.
What does God say about the relationship between parents and children?
How can this help us have a good relationship with our parents?
Parent Trap. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Corey.
And I'm Joe.
And this is Real Faith TV.
We'd like to thank the youth group from the Church of St. Anne in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, for helping us open our show today.
And for sharing the kinds of disagreements and conflicts that they have with their parents.
We'll hear more from them as part of our Wild Card and Round Table segments. But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Jess,
to talk about some of the areas that are contentious between her and her parents,
as well as some of the tricks she has picked up to get what she wants.
The main things that me and my parents fight about are my attitude and also about wanting to go places. at the spur of the moment, which isn't always good because it's very disorganized, and also none of my friends can drive, so we have to have our parents take us there, and I also have 3 other siblings, which makes it a little harder to get us there. The reason we argue about attitude is my tone of voice, because I get very sassy and I answer questions and I'll just be like, I don't know. Or be like, okay, fine, whatever. I didn't do it, stuff like that. Maybe I'm tired or I'm not in the mood to kind of have a conversation with them. My mom says why I can't do this or why she doesn't think it's a good idea. And when I don't get the answer I want, I kind of just stop talking and I start sulking and just end the conversation. I think a lot of the time I feel like my parents don't understand why I want to go do it, and when they give me an answer that I don't want, I can't believe that they aren't letting me do it. I get angry and don't want to be around them because I'm like, oh, you're ruining my life, but you're not really ruining my life. You're just not letting me go do one thing. So some tricks that teens might do, they say they're going over their friend's house, but they're going to a party, or they say they're going to a football game, but they're actually going out with a bunch of friends. And they also could sneak out during the night. I don't have, per se, any tricks, but I do usually go to my dad first if I really want it. If I know my dad's on my side, the chances of getting what I want is a lot greater.
I definitely relate to her what she had to say when after you fight with your parents, you don't want to be around them for a little bit. And I can sort of understand that both of you are tense at the same time, but still it's important to keep the communication even if, you're not around them all the time.
Yeah, I also agree with what she said about we feel like our parents don't realize, don't put themselves in our place sometimes. They don't understand what's going on, but believe it or not, our parents didn't grow up in the Stone Age. At one point they were high schoolers just like us. And a lot of them went through the same experiences that we go through. I mean, we have to understand that and realize that maybe they do know what they're talking about.
Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are Lauren,
John,
Caroline,
Monique,
Mateo,
and Alec. So, what are the main things that you and your parents fight about?
Going out with my friends and concerts, because being at a concert, they can't really control you and they don't really like not being able to have that close contact with you. So I know that when I want to go out and do those types of things, my parents are like, no.
I know for me, it's always my academics. If a grade isn't in right away, they're like, well, what did you get on it? I'm like, I don't know. The teacher hasn't put in the grade yet. Or if I did badly on there, what did you do wrong? I'm like, I don't know. They haven't given it back. And it's almost like it's not a good enough answer for them.
Definitely constantly. It's always about homework. Did you do your homework yet? Did you get it done yet? Are you almost done yet? And it's you keep asking me. That's why it's taking so long.
For me, it's my parents need to know exactly what's gonna happen. When I go out, if I say I'm gonna go to the boardwalk, it's okay, what are you gonna do on the boardwalk? Are you gonna get something to eat? Are you gonna play mini golf? What exactly is your itinerary for the night? And I'm I'm a teenager. I don't care. I'm just gonna do something and I'm gonna have fun. But
definitely my mom sometimes with academics, she's always, very cautious about exactly what I'm doing. If I get a grade on a test, how did I study for it, or what questions exactly did I get wrong, how can I make it better? And from that point, I mean, I do understand where she's coming from, but sometimes she just gets so critical and nitpicky that it does kind of get annoying.
For me, basically, it's not giving me enough freedom. We argue about that a lot. Sometimes if I want to hang out with my friends, my mom's always like, you got to call me when you get there, you got to do this. So, I mean, it's good that they're being a little bit overprotective, but sometimes it can nag me a little bit, so.
Yeah, I think mostly my parents and I fight about, or just doing chores in general. It's mostly just that.
Next, our Spotlight guest, Jess, talks about the different approaches she takes with each of her parents.
And how her honesty in asking her parents about going to a party didn't work out exactly how she hoped it would.
I'm a daddy's girl, so when I want something, really bad, I go to my dad first. I kind of hang out with my dad a little bit, and then I ask him for what I want. Most of the time that works, but sometimes it doesn't, and I kind of just let that go because I do usually get what I want from my dad, so I give him a break. But with my mom, that's a different story. I kind of just be honest with her. I just flat out ask her, and it's either a yes or a no. There are a few times where we compromise and I can go do other stuff, or instead of going out, I have people come over so we don't necessarily have to go out and do stuff. I was in one situation where I asked my parents if I'd go to a party, and I was honest with them, told them that there probably wasn't going to be parents and that there's probably going to be drugs and alcohol. I wanted to go because my friend was going away and wasn't coming back, and it was kind of like a goodbye party. And I put myself in my parents' shoes when I told them the truth because, one, it made me feel safer letting them know what was actually going on, but then it also kind of, I thought that they would let me go because I was honest with them and that they would trust me more if I told them. That didn't actually happen. I didn't go to it, but I was okay with not going to it because instead of that, I went to go see Star Wars with my friend in 3D, so that was really cool. My friends after the party came back and they said, you didn't really miss much, you know, it didn't really matter if you were there or not, it wasn't that big.
So do you ever put yourself in your parents' shoes, and why do you think they do say no sometimes?
If I have a question that I need to ask them, or if it's something I want, I mean, I do have to think that they've experienced a lot, and they would probably know if it were safe or not.
I'll end up putting myself in my parents' shoes like after I've asked them, and I get really annoyed with them when they most likely will say no depending on what it is.
I normally try to put myself in my parents' shoes before I ask them. This way I can be like, okay, like, is this even worth bringing up? Because like, if it's not, I'll just tell my friends like, no, my parents said no, even though I didn't even ask, because it's, you know, something that they wouldn't approve of anyway.
Like whenever my parents say no to sleeping over at my friend's house or like just hanging out, I ask them like, why not? Like, you don't trust me, you think I'm gonna give in to peer pressure. And then they say, well, it's not that we don't trust you, it's that we don't trust, you know, your friends or the people around you. And once they say that, like, that's when it kind of hits me, like, why they can be kind of hard sometimes.
My mom worries a lot and has like really high anxiety. So when I want to go out and do something, it's very hard for her to just say yes without thinking of the logics about the situation and like trying to find alternatives. So it's causes a lot of fights beforehand, but after I think about it, it all works itself out.
God asks that we honor our parents. God thinks this is so important that he made it part of the 10 Commandments.
To honor means to fulfill an obligation with respect and obedience.
The Catechism of the Catholic Church says that as long as a child lives at home with his parents, the child should obey his parents in all that they ask of him, when it is for his good or that of the family.
Oh, so that's where the term "my house, my rules" saying comes from. So the chores, the curfew times, the must-dos, and the you can'ts are all part of the rules for us and our family.
All of these decisions are made because our parents are thinking about what is good for us.
Let's meet our wildcard guest, Sarah, who will share a story of a friend who decided to come clean to her parents about a party that she attended.
The story helps Sarah to trust her parents more.
Let's hear from her now.
One time my friend was at a party and was drinking and felt guilty about it later that week. Her mom already had suspicions that she was drinking, but when my friend called her in the middle of school and told her what happened, she felt closer with her mom and felt that she could tell her anything. This story helps influence my decisions because it lets me know that I can show my parents trust and respect by telling them anything.
I definitely think that she had a point by saying, you know, coming clean definitely helps build that trust because now your parents know, okay, stuff will happen and you'll definitely tell them.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time the parents already know what's going to happen, so, you know, by telling them the truth, you're just like reassuring them, you can trust me.
Next, Jess talks about some of the things she and her parents argue about.
And how her involvement in sports has been a particular area where she takes the criticism from her parents more personally.
Cleaning the bedroom could be an argument that happens quite often. One rule is that when my parents ask us to do something, we do it. And my parents ask me to clean my bedroom, but I don't necessarily do it right away because I don't feel like it. And Sometimes I'll clean my bedroom if I want a friend over, and then sometimes I just get sick and tired of seeing it so messy that I clean it up. The things that annoy me the most that my parents say are when they comment about my softball. Sometimes they'll say, oh, well, you need to get better at this and you need to do better at that. And I'm like, I'm trying, but you know, it's hard to do. And my mom played softball in middle school and my dad played baseball, but you know, they never had long careers in it. The stress that I'm under with trying to find a college for softball and trying to figure out my future is not easy. And when they say, oh, you need to be better at this, you need to be better at that, in a sport that I thought that I was good at, is kind of a punch, really, because it's like, oh, okay, I thought I was good, but I'm not. So when my parents say that I need to go work on things, you know, I'm angry at them because they're nitpicking at what I'm doing, but then later on, I appreciate it because then I go back and when I'm at practice, I go and work extra hard on those things that they said that I need to improve on.
So what role do you think criticism plays in your relationship with your parents? And do you think maybe we're too sensitive or are they too critical?
I definitely think for me, with my parents and criticism, they want so much for me to understand that it's being constructive, but the way they say it is not constructive to me. It's more like demeaning and hurtful. So I think their intention is good, but the way they say it to you is not. So I may be too sensitive, but also they could be too critical. I don't know, it's confusing.
For me, when my parents give me a little bit of criticism on some subject, it kind of helps me later because at first I'm like, wow, that's a little bit hurtful, but you know what, I think about it and in the future I'm gonna use that, so.
I think like constructive criticism's good, but sometimes with like my mom, it's like her way or the highway. So like if she doesn't like something about me, like how I dress or like how I do my hair, sometimes she'll like criticize me on it just because she doesn't like it. And I think that that's kind of hurtful and it's not really constructive, but I think with like a lot of other things like academics, it's good for like constructive criticism there, but I think otherwise I don't really like it.
I feel like I would fight with my parents less if they were better at constructive criticism. I feel like sometimes if my mom gets mad at me for something, like she doesn't take the time to think about what she's gonna say before she just says the words, and then I end up getting really hurt or upset, and sometimes I feel like if she would have just thought before she said anything or try to put it in a way that maybe I would understand better, we wouldn't fight as much.
And I think what's frustrating is that, you know, your parents can criticize you, but you can't criticize them back without getting in trouble.
And sometimes I find like they'll then find another problem within the problem and then start talking about that and you lose the main focus of what you guys were arguing about.
Because they want so much to relive that moment of what they were yelling at you 4 weeks ago in that moment because they're yelling at you right now.
Yeah, and it's just like a completely different topic. I'll just bring it up again.
Now this is interesting. Listen up, guys. Neuroscience has found the teenage brain is not fully developed until about 25. For this reason, we often let our emotions take over how we react to life, which can make it easier for us to make bad decisions.
On the other hand, our parents' brains are fully developed.
We hope.
And can think more objectively. They look at what will be best for us from a less emotional perspective and more of a rational one.
We hope. We recorded a special roundtable segment with the members of St. Anne's Youth Group as they discussed their parents' use of social media and GPS tracking.
Take it to the wall.
I think parents need to use technology to help them parent their children now in the 21st century.
Yeah, like apps like Find My Friends, like they can like track their like child anywhere they go, like at any time of the day.
I don't think parents should track us. They should be like able to like trust us about where we're going and that will actually tell them.
And I don't like how my parents follow me on Twitter and everything because sometimes I'll retweet something or I'll tweet something and they don't like it, but it's relevant to my situation.
But shouldn't they follow us to like make sure we're doing everything right and not getting in trouble?
Yeah, but they shouldn't get mad when I tweet something like, oh, I'm so over it. Like, I'm over what is happening in my situation, not that it has to do anything with them.
Maybe they want to know about that. Maybe they just want to be a little bit more involved in your life and know like what's going on, like, because you can talk to me, like as a parent, you could be like, you can talk to me what you're over, like I want to know because I care about you and I love you.
That's true, but if I wanted to tell them, I would tell them. Some things I just like to keep to myself, and then it might not even be that I'm mad about it for more than a day. It might just be at that moment I'm really mad and I'm so over it, but then in like 10 minutes I was like, oh, that was a stupid thing for me to be mad about.
So you don't want them to follow you at all, like, or check it, like check it all?
I'm fine with them following me. It's just everything that I tweet, if they always question me about it, it gets kind of annoying.
So do you feel your parents use technology to communicate with you or check up on you? How do you guys feel about it?
I mean, I put my mom on Instagram and Facebook because I like interacting with my mom over social media. And also, I tell my mom everything that goes on in my life. Like, that's one of my favorite parts of the day is coming home and being like, oh, this, and this happened. So it's not really a problem for me.
Yeah, one time my mom tried to put a tracker on my phone, but then I just shut it off. She's also tried friending me on Instagram, but then I made my account private, so.
Yeah, I know with my dad, he questions like everything I tweet or post on Instagram, like the girl said, and it does get a little bit annoying because I'm questioned about every little thing, and sometimes it's not even directed towards anything. I might just be having like a bad day, or I'm like tired, or something like that.
For me, my parents usually just use it to do both, check up on me and to communicate with me, because, I mean, they're really calm and steady about everything and relaxed, so.
Yeah, like a couple of years back, I like the iMessages on the iPhone, like, you know how like sometimes it'll like go on to a different device and stuff, so my dad was reading my texts whenever I was texting to my friend, and one time I was texting, it's like a close family friend and all that, and I was texting her, and then all of a sudden a picture of my dad just comes up in the conversation. He just says, "Who is this?" So I'm glad I figured I had to turn that off.
I definitely am very blessed, I guess I could say, that my parents don't follow me on social media. Still confused as to why, because, you know, that's probably one of the main places I express myself the most, but I think the only means of technology they use to communicate with me is the phone and texting, so that's kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess.
Speaking of which, my mom, she doesn't have social media, so that's not even like a problem for me. She's not interested, but she does do the whole call me sort of thing, like call me whenever you are, and that would be okay, like I understand, but I get home from work in the afternoon, and so I'll be home around 2, and so my mom will be like, call me from the house phone, and then by then I realize, oh, she thinks like if she doesn't call me by the house phone, like that I'm not home, and so stuff like that, it's like, I get where you're coming from, but like, have a little faith. I mean, I don't really have anywhere to go. I only have my bike. I'm not going anywhere. Like,
Take a chill pill, Mom. Just take it easy, you know?
God loves families so much that he joined one. Jesus grew up in a family with a mother and a father, Mary and Joseph.
Do you remember the story when Joseph and Mary suddenly realized that Jesus is missing, and it takes them 3 days before they find him in the temple?
Could you imagine how worried they were?
I think we can all relate to this story. How many times have your parents approached you because you were late for curfew?
Or you didn't pick up their call or text them back immediately or whatever the case may be?
It's easy for us to respond with anger or an attitude, but in these moments we need to realize that our parents are simply worried and want to know we are okay.
When they found Jesus, he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them.
Lastly, our spotlight guest Jess discusses the importance of obedience in her relationship with her parents.
I would say I'm an obedient child when it comes to certain situations. If I'm asked to go clean my bedroom and I really don't feel like it, I'm not gonna go do it. But if we're talking about like serious situations, yes. I do too many things. Like I do softball all year round and I dance for me to be able to get into sticky situations where I could be disobedient. Honoring thy mother and thy father is a very important commandment to me because without my parents, I wouldn't be here. And you know, my parents do so much for me. They run me around with all the sports that I do and with all the extracurricular activities that I do that without them, I wouldn't be able to do that, and I wouldn't be good at what I am today without them. And you know, there's simple things that you can do to show them that you care about them and that you appreciate them. Like if they ask you to bring up your clothes from the laundry room and you do it, you know, that shows them that you're there for them and that you appreciate them. And then maybe if they ask you to clean your bedroom and then you do it right away, that shows them that you care about them and that you're paying attention to them. One thing that I think of when people talk about Jesus being in a family and how he was obedient was at the wedding of Cana, where Mary asks Jesus to turn water into wine because they were running out, and Jesus didn't want to do it. But eventually he did do it because his mother asked him to do it.
So what does it mean to you that Jesus, the Son of God, chose to be obedient to his parents? How has your faith helped you?
I don't know if it's necessarily like helped me to be obedient, but it helped me to rely on my parents because I tend to be very independent and, you know, do things my way and alone. But when you think of Jesus, you know, he didn't do whatever he wanted. Like he wasn't just, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this for me. He listened to his father and he did what was asked of him by his parents.
We should honor our father and mother, follow what they have to say and their rules.
Even though, you know, we fight and I feel upset, we still have to remember that we have to honor them. And so I think that that commandment helps remind us. As you know, our teen years can create a battle of wills because we want to exert our independence and take control over our life.
So let's try to keep open lines of communication with our parents so we can continue to respect and trust one another.
Understand their expectation and share ours with them.
Even though we think we know more than our parents.
And in some cases, that can be true, like when it comes to new technology or similar things.
We need to remember that our parents have many more life experiences that have helped shape them.
They want better lives for us, so they want us to learn from their experiences without making painful mistakes.
So cut them a break and help them to understand where you're coming from and what you need.
Or how they can help instead of sulking, stomping, or screaming.
After all, it's hard raising parents in today's society.
Was there ever a time that you were thankful to your parents for being firm and sticking to their decision? Can you share your story?
We want to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
And here's one final thought from St. Augustine.
The life of the parents is the book which the children read.
Now that's a book we should probably read more than once.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.